about the word nuclear causes so much anxiety and worry in our hearts? Is it the possible cancer it might cause? The nuclear war that's hanging overhead since the 70s? These are all understandable worries. But those worries often override the knowledge of topics containing nuclear power plants. The knowledge of nuclear power plants is important to all of us because it is something that we are voting on currently in America and Illinois specifically. The Rad Tech program at Parkland here has allowed me to become very interested in how radiation affects one's body. And onto that, how the Physics 112 course got in depth on nuclear power plants. And it was a little interesting, but I'll say I'm probably not that nerdy about it. Nuclear energy may seem too large of an issue for us, but the pros and the cons affect us in many different ways. It affects us at a local level, from our community of Champaign-Urbana. It affects our country, like the worry I just mentioned in the preview. And it affects our entire global society on the use of electricity in all parts of daily life. Our local area of Champaign-Urbana has a nuclear power plant about 40 miles away. Does anyone know what it's called? Nah, it's called the Clinton. That was rhetorical. This nuclear power plant may cause anxiety and worry to us thinking it's so close. It's less than an hour drive away. Although those worries can be quelled a little bit because they have many safeguards. There's many safeguards that actually do help prevent nuclear reactors from becoming a danger to society. This can be shown in a quote from the Illinois Emergency Management Agency that was last updated in 2020. It states that the DNS routinely monitors the radioactivity of the environment around such nuclear power plants. So even though it is so close to us, it does not harm us in many ways. At least they try to prevent that. With that being so close to us, it can affect us in a positive manner too. The electricity that we use every day will go into our power bills. The more electricity used over the amount of electricity we have is how much you have to pay for that power bill. And honestly, it kind of sucks when your power bill goes up. Now that we've seen how it affects us in kind of a local level, we can go into a larger aspect, like our country's worries about nuclear power plants. The rising concern for nuclear power plants has been gaining since the 70s, and it has stunted growth. This is shown in Salem Press Encyclopedia, posted in 2019. They state that the rising public concern about nuclear waste and safety of reactors stunted growth while fossil fuels remained cheap and abundant. This fear was led by many other meltdowns that we may know of Chernobyl in current-day Ukraine, of Fukushima in Japan, and 3 Mile Island in New York. These are few and far between meltdowns that show us the dangers of nuclear power plants. But these risks often are few and far between, even if they are significant. And they may outweigh the benefit that it may give to society. Our society needs a lot of electricity, just the global society in general. With that electricity, it emits a lot of carbon emissions. And with our carbon emissions, we're trying to limit the amount that's polluting our environment. That's why nuclear power can be a stepping off point to a more renewable energy such as solar or wind. We can avoid using such heavy fossil fuels that emit so many carbons into the environment and cause a shrink in the ozone layer. And that abundance of nuclear energy in America gives us such a larger advantage to the rest of the world because our infrastructure has already been built for nuclear energy. In an article from Harvard University blog, posted in October of 2019, it states the U.S. is currently the largest nuclear power plant producer at about 20% of our grid. It's already a fifth of our grid that has been built for nuclear power plants. that can provide us so much energy. So nuclear power plants give us so many different effects on our livelihood, our health and well-being, and the consumption of our electricity. From our local Chambana community, from our entire United States worries and its benefits, to the just global usage of electricity. Regardless of whatever viewpoint you have on nuclear power plants, I hope today that these pros and cons will help you decide whether or not the benefits outweigh the risks of nuclear power plants.